Changing minds one thought at a time.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Changing Minds Online Blog Talk Radio Show. This is Jessica, and I'm here with Dr. Aikyna. Welcome, Dr. Aikyna.
Well, thank you. Welcome, Jessica. I know tonight is going to be a wonderful night. We got our guest on tonight. Can you tell me about her?
Yes, tonight we are going to be talking about taking a moment for silence. And we have a very special guest and good friend of mine, Anny Abreu. Anny is just an amazing person. I'm so blessed to know her. She immigrated to the United States from the Dominican Republic when she was 22, and she graduated law school in the Dominican Republic. 10 years ago, she became licensed to practice law here in New York. And 5.5 years ago, Anny actually started studying meditation when she found out she had a brain tumor, and she was able to cure herself of that brain tumor just using meditation. And her story is absolutely amazing. She's such an inspiration to me. She's definitely been a really great guide for me in helping me to develop my own meditation practice. And it's such a pleasure to have her. Anny's actually decided now to leave her law practice and to help other people, to coach them in meditation. And it's just an honor to have her on the show. Welcome, Anny.
Thank you very much. My God, what a beautiful introduction. It is an honor for me to be here in the company of such an amazing ladies and beautiful people inside and out. Thank you. I am excited, and I cannot wait to share whatever I have experienced that can potentially help anybody else.
Thank you. Now, I know that a lot of people who are calling in tonight are coming from different places, and I know for me, meditation used to be a really scary word. It used to scare me, and as someone who was Christian and being open and honest, it wasn't something that I was really open to. I thought that it was something that was very mystical and very kind of new agey and something I wanted to avoid. And, for me, I realized that meditation is really just taking time to silence that voice in our head that tells us we can't do something, or that tells us we're not worthy of doing something, or it's not worth it, or it's going to be too hard, and just kind of finding time for silence and even for me, time for prayer and just listening to God. I know, Anny, you have a little bit different take on what meditation is, and I'd love to just really kind of all of us discuss what meditation is to us, because I know it's something so personal and it really can vary so much. So, Anny, what is meditation to you?
Your story is the story that I have found the more common among most people, which is they are afraid of meditation. And meditation to me is just learning, or have been learning to love myself. That has been my very personal experience. It's a time to allow myself to feel love. And I do this on a regular basis, and it has transformed my life. There are many types of meditation, but all of them are very elaborate and kind of scary practices in the sense that they required a lot of sitting and mantras that most of us are not familiar with. And they may work for some people. However, I have found that to be not the case for most of us. I actually had a friend who found a mindful meditation to be very helpful for him. It was a guy. And he found that making a sound to bring him back to the present while he was doing things, it was a very good way of meditating, because he couldn't actually sit and not have thoughts. So the best he could do near to meditation was to be in a state of allowing himself to bring himself to the present time with a specific sound. And we can create our own way of meditation. Meditation for me, however, is taking the time to love myself. And What is meditation for you, Tina?
Yes. Meditation is when I center myself. I center myself through prayer, and, of course, I also center myself during exercising. That's my time to really just get in there and let my mind go free and really heal from the inside out. So can you tell me about your first experience meditating and how you got started?
Oh, yes, that was an amazing experience. Again, like everybody else, I have been told, meditation is great, so you should do it. Meditation is fantastic. You need to clear your mind. And I was like, yeah, clear my mind. Good luck. Thank you very much. I'm going to clear my mind right now. Of course, I would never be able to do it until I was convinced through some teachings that I came across, Abraham Hicks teachings, actually. And they suggested meditation strongly. But the way they suggested meditation was so different that I was enticed to practice it. They indicated that whatever I could focus on that would allow me to relax, that would be a meditative state of being. And I said, oh, okay, I can do that. I can pick any image, and, I will meditate. That's what I call meditation. I can pick an image, and I will close my eyes, and I'll sit there, and then let's see what happens. So I was enticed through these teachings to try it out. And then one day I said, okay, let me try this. Finally, I was convinced. And I closed my eyes. I picked an image. I thought about a river, trees, a loving environment, surrounded by chirping birds, and I focused on that. And all I could do, I remember, was like 7 to 10 seconds of that. And as I reached probably the 7th second into the meditation state, my body went into a convulsion. It started shaking. I had to stop. And my entire face became red. I started coughing. I couldn't breathe. And I started expulsing mucus profusely. A lot of mucus was coming out of my nose, green mucus. And I was like, I couldn't breathe. My son had to come into the room and ask me, what's going on, Mom? And I couldn't talk. He brought me water. And it was a wake-up call to me. 7 to 10 seconds into a meditative state or a relaxed state buried my body into a new, different state of being. So much so that I immediately started disintoxicating my body, that's what was happening at that time. My body, for the first time, was experiencing a break. It was experiencing relaxation to a level that I have never been, obviously. And it was all over after that. And then as I experienced this, I decided that I wanted to try it again right away. And I went to meditation or relaxation at that point, and I experienced even further coughing, more mucus coming out. It was another convulsion in my body taking place. And I realized that I was onto something amazing and that my body was reacting to a message of peace and tranquility. It was like another world to me. I never thought that not quieting, because I didn't think I actually thought of the process of quieting my mind, because I couldn't do that at that point. But my focus on an image that brought me peace, or a beautiful image that allowed me just to feel peace for a few seconds, rendered my body into a new state of being, brought me into a different state of being. And of course,
that sounds very powerful.
Oh yes, I mean it's amazing. And once I was there, I realized that something huge. I was onto something huge.
It's an amazing story. I know I believe very, very firmly. very strong in my belief that meditation, we do have the power to really heal ourselves, and in many ways. And I use meditation and meditation alone to treat neurological issues that I have, and through pain management, I deal with it pretty much only through meditation. And I think it's very profound, the effect that it has on our bodies when we are able to control through our thoughts, and really by filtering out what we think, we control the way our body responds. Now, Annie, I know, and I really appreciate you being open with us today in this conversation. Now, I know you had told me that you did have, at one point you had a tumor in your brain that was affecting and almost caused you to lose your hearing. And you did, you told me that you were able to really treat that with meditation. And was that before or after this you found this out? When did you start meditating? Was it because of that issue, or did you deal with that after you had already started meditating?
I started meditating because I felt empty, out of place. I felt that life had not much meaning, and I was searching. And these teachings that I came across recommended meditation. And I found a lot of truth in what they were saying, so I started meditating because of that. My tumor was very advanced in my head, but I was losing my hearing. My left ear was gone. My ability to hear on my left ear was gone, and my right ear was 75% out by the time when I started meditating.
Wow.
And I had a lot of migraines, and I was experiencing a lot of problems in my head. I realized that I had something, but I did not want to face the reality of my problem in my head. As I started meditating, I realized that I had a huge issue in my head, but I couldn't tell because it was too advanced already. As years went by and my head started becoming clear, and the healing was taking place little by little at the cellular level, I realized that meditation was curing me. So I was actually not aware that meditation would do any of this, or that I would meditate to achieve that goal at all. It was a pure accident that I discovered, a lovely one, a blessed accident, realizing that meditation actually was saving my life. I experienced at the molecular level, I feel my body vibrating and moving the cells on the molecules in my head, moving it, healing it when I meditate. That's how powerful meditation is.
That's an amazing story. And, Annie, I love your story so much, and I've actually had a similar experience myself. And, if to be, open about it, when I was in high school, I wasn't really able to write very much. When I was in high school, we had the Palm Pilot, and it's kind of like the precursor to the iPad. And I think unless you were kind of like a techie person, not a lot of people really had it. It wasn't mainstream technology. But when I was in high school, I wasn't able to write, and this was due to tumors in my body, which the doctors said, there's nothing we can do, and once they come, they don't get better, and the symptoms don't go away, and there is no treatment, there is no cure, we can't take them out. And at the time, I was an athlete, and I was in high school. I was always a very good athlete as a kid, and I wasn't able to play sports anymore. They told me, it's not a good idea. Any sort of trauma can make it worse, and truthfully, I was in too much pain that I wasn't able to do it. So, I really, to a large degree, there was a lot of limitations I had as a younger child and as a high school student. I remember even, in gym, I wasn't allowed to do gym. My orthopedic had said it wasn't a good idea, it wasn't safe. I had issues on my wrist. I had tumors on my wrist. They said, no, you can't play, and I used to have to sit in study hall. And I started meditating actually when I was 12. I didn't really understand, I think, what I was doing or really what it was at such a young age. And I think it kind of came as a surprise to me even when, as an adult, I started to learn more about meditation and said, wow, this is what I've been doing for really the past, I guess now 15 years or 16 years. And it's really had such a profound impact on my life. And today, I train with CrossFit, and I can bench press more than I weigh. And I'm a runner. I actually signed up for my first marathon to do later this year. And it's amazing the power we have. Yeah, thank you. It's amazing the power that we have. I mean, just last night I worked out with my trainer, and I was able to lift my body weight. And coming from someone who used to not be able to hold a pencil and take notes in class, and with the diagnosis that said this is not going to get better, there's nothing that medicine can do, I had no choice but to look inside myself and say, you know what, I can heal me. And maybe externally there's nothing that can go on, but I have a lot of power, and I'm going to use that power to heal myself. And it's amazing that, you had that story.
Did you have that conversation with yourself? Did you actually, when you were 12, you had that conversation with yourself?
I did, and that's, that's something that I was always
awesome.
A very profound thinker, I guess you can say, and very spiritual. I had a very mystic experience at 12 where that's when I gave my life to God at 12, and I decided that I was going to make some changes, which is, I guess, a whole other conversation. But, not everyone has an experience where they might, not have, and thankfully, thank God, they don't have an issue where they need to heal themselves of tumors or they need to heal themselves from medical issues. But you know what, for me, meditation, it doesn't have to be about healing. It doesn't even have to be about someone who has something very extreme, but it's something that everybody really should focus on doing, and it's something that I think can be done by everyone. And, for me, meditation, I think in many ways, and I said this earlier, it's that voice in our head that we hear all the time. And that's a good way that we always hear these voices. I know I hear voices all the time. When I was driving this morning and someone cut me off, and I'm like, oh my goodness, and I'm not going to say what I was thinking, but that was that voice inside my head that said, you know what, and I was able to really control, but I was able to control my temperament. Some people, if they get cut off on the way to work, their entire day is destroyed. I have experience of driving with people who would have sworn and hit the horn and, gave someone some gesture outside the window that, and then their entire energy just changes and shifts. And, every single day there's something that happens to every one of us that's like, it could throw us off course. And if we meditate, if we're in control of our thoughts, and that's really what meditating is to me, is to, like you said, to love yourself. But for me, it's to be in control of our thoughts. That's very powerful. And if we're in control of our thoughts,
if I may interject, you see, you cannot control yourself outside unless you have been able to achieve that to some level in the inside. And you are able to exercise in a very powerful way in the outside world when you have been able to establish that at the cellular level, which is what meditation does. Meditation is you talk to your body, you teach and train the way your body is focused. We are cells, we are molecules, and meditation is a conversation with God. It's a communication with our highest self, and we allow the best of us to commute and commune with us. And in that moment, you create changes at the cellular level, and then you establish yourself. So when you come out of meditation and someone cuts you off, you are established in your well-being. And then no one and nowhere that you go is going to be able to keep you off because you are in control of your state of being. But it needs to be established. And the control and the talk is done during the meditation and during that silence that is necessary to develop to a really deep level that only meditation can help to really come to.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think that you're right, that it really is about having the choice and always being able to really choose how we react and how we feel. And it is important that, if you don't do it, you don't achieve those quiet moments, if you're not meditating, if you're not getting that control, when situations come up, you're not going to be able to do it. And I think, Annie and Aikyna, both of you guys really said something that I know I relate to, in that, meditation for you is in many ways a conversation with God. And whether you call it God or the universe or whatever higher power that you want to give it a name to, I call it God. I know, Aikyna, you call it God. But, Aikyna, for you, you said that meditation for you is prayer, and it's about listening. And I would love to hear a little more about your take on that, because I know I find that to be very powerful as well.
Well, every morning I start my day before I even get up, and I'm listening. I say, okay, Lord, these are the things that I would like to do for the day. I would love to have, please give me the direction that we are going to go in today. And, I get the visual picture, or the sound in the head, and that centers me for the rest of the day. I know what path I'm going on. I have consulted the Father, and now I'm ready to start my day. And I can tell the difference when I center myself in the morning versus, I'm late, let me get up and jump and do it. And I can tell the difference in how I function. So I make sure that that's the first thing that I do no matter what, because it just makes me feel better. My system is better, my mindset is better, and my thoughts are better.
If I may interject, it appears that Aikyna already has a practice, a meditation practice. But for some people who, for example, for me, who have never done it 5.5 years ago, if you told me that I needed to listen, I had no clue what would that mean to me. I would not know what to do with that information, because it appears that you have been doing it and you have developed this clear communication where you can actually listen. For many of us, especially for those who are attempting to get into meditation or who might be enticed at some point, the issue is to even clean a little bit your mind so you can relax a little bit, because that is the first stage or before you can even go and listen to anything else that you might eventually develop to hear into. Correct me if I am wrong, Aikyna. Were you able to do that all the time, that you were able to listen, or you develop your meditation practice into listening?
I definitely had to develop into listening. I, as a personality, am an A, so I'm always go, 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 do, do, do. And so I had to learn that I had to stop and listen in order for me to be successful and do, because all I was doing was burning myself out. Okay. So I had to learn that I had to regroup, and I had to give my body the rest, because it's not on auto burn, you know. And when I realized that, that's when the meditation came in, and once I started and learned the fact that I had to listen in order to succeed, then my life and my system got much better.
Okay.
I like that, the way that you say listening, and I really like the word listening, because I think, for me, prayer is about talking and meditation's about listening. But, sometimes I think listening, even the concept of listening can be kind of scary to some people. I've heard a lot of people when I said, listen, we need to listen, you need to pray, and you need to wait for God to answer. And they're like, but I don't hear it. Have you ever heard God speak? And, for me, it's funny because we all get intuition. And for me, that intuition is, that information we're getting. And, again, call it God, call it the universe, call it whatever you want. But it's when you get this feeling that you know something that you didn't really know. And I had this experience yesterday where I had this intuition. And to me, that's really what listening is all about. And yesterday I was driving home from work, or home from the gym, and I had two options. One was to take Route 95, and one was to take the Hutch. Now, Route 95 is usually full of traffic, and it's a major highway, and there's a ton of trucks there. And the Hutch is a smaller road, and it typically does not have a lot of traffic, and it's a more direct route to my house. So I'm in the right lane, and I'm ready to get off, and I'm ready to go on to the Hutch, the way I go home almost every time I go to the gym. And then I had this intuition. Something told me, take 95. And I cut into the left lane at pretty much the last second, and I diverted off that highway. And not 2 seconds later, there was a major, massive truck that actually was in, I was in the middle lane, in the right-hand lane, that actually cut off into the middle lane because someone had cut that truck off. And they cut off exactly to where my car was. And, had I actually been there, there's no way an accident would have been avoided, whether the truck would have hit me or the truck would have gone into the car in front of me. Whatever it was, some reason I had the intuition to move out of the lane. And there was no logical reason that I should have actually gone on a different highway. But something said, you need to move, and you need to move now. And I recognized it for me, and as a person, I recognized it, or I understood it as the voice of God saying, listen, get out of this lane. And I listened because, to me, meditation is, if you get an answer, you follow what you hear, right? So I just got out of that lane, and I don't really know what would have happened, but it could have potentially saved my life. So, I think for me, this really has to be that
meditation develops intuition?
I think that, for me, in many times, yes, it's meditation is about receiving information in many ways, So, again, if you think it's God, you think it's the universe, it's about really having a free flow of communication and really just being open and receptive to hearing and to understanding. And I think that that's very important, whether or not you're doing that through prayer, you're doing that through sitting quietly and following the breath. And, I've practiced a lot of different types of meditation through Qigong, where you're really following the energy and light and you're using it to heal yourself. Or, whether or not as a runner, I'm trying to improve my running time by just sitting and following my breath and developing the art of running, art of breathing. Those are all great ways, but I think it's also really important, and like Aikyna said too, is just learning to listen. Learning to just find that voice and hear it and respond to it. What do you think about that, Annie? I mean, what has been your experience? Have you had an experience like that?
It's interesting because I love what you're saying, and it's really great to hear someone because I think you're a very special individual, Jessica. You are a phenomenal person, and you know that I mean that. You have gone through a lot of tribulations, illnesses, and you have been able to cure yourself. You're very powerful. But for people like, and I'm going to speak for me, for people like me, I got to tell you, I had zero intuition, and I knew nothing about nothing, and I had a bad attitude, and I was not in a good state of being before meditation. So what I'm trying to say is, you obviously have developed an intuition, but for people who are in a state of disarray or in a state of confusion or anger or resentment, and all of those feelings oppressing them inside, it's really difficult for them to develop any type of intuition unless they learn to clear themselves a little bit out, which is what happened to me. I had to learn to clear all the noise first before I can even attempt to believe that I could hear anything. And the hearing part is really important. So, let me ask you, what is it that you feel in your body? When you say hear, do you hear a message or do you have an impulse in your body?
It's not like I have an understanding. Like I have, all of a sudden I have this knowledge or information that I didn't previously have. And there's really no way I would have known it or found it out. And I've had several times.
I know, but did you have any impulse in your body, or was an image in your head, or did you feel it in your belly?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't. It was really no physical feeling. I just all of a sudden possessed this knowledge. And it was really, I didn't hear anything audible. It just was a thought that popped into my head. And I knew that thought.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really just a thought that also, I had this thought all of a sudden, like last night, all of a sudden I thought, you know what, get of this lane. And I just did. And I just responded. I said, you know what, that thought's important. I'm going to listen to it.
Okay, so intuition can come in the form of a thought, an urgent thought that you need to follow, that it comes across and you need to follow. Okay, I like that. Because I may have had that and not follow it. Because I thought that's another thought of mine. So how do we distinguish between an intuitive thought or a thought that is just, how can you make the difference, Jessica?
I think that's a great question. I think that's where meditation comes into play. And I think that's really a great way to kind of, finish up the call on this note, is that, when you take time every day to be silent, to really control your thoughts, to quiet the mind, to love yourself, and to really just focus on peace and tranquility and calmness and stillness and gratitude, you're able to more clearly recognize, what thoughts that you want to internalize and what thoughts you want to get rid of. So when someone cut me off this morning on their way to work, my immediate reaction was that, expletive, I was able to very quickly release that thought because I understood I didn't want that to be part of who I am. But, last night when I was driving and I got this thought, get out of this lane, I recognized that as something I needed to hear. And really through meditation, through a daily practice of communication with me, with God, and really just quieting my mind and just being still and being in a place of peace and love and gratitude, I have learned, and really it's an art, but I've learned to be able to discern the difference between what thoughts I want to internalize and which ones I say they have to go. But,
that is so true.
I think we're about, and I think, we're about at a time tonight for this call, but I just want to thank everyone for joining us and for calling in, and for all of our callers who are listening live on Blog Chat Radio. Just wanted to remind everyone you can find us on YouTube. And Dr. Aikyna, you had set us up on iTunes this week, right? Our page is officially up?
Yes, it is, Jessica. So if anybody wants to catch up on the archives, they are most welcome to subscribe, and they will never miss another show because it'll come automatically on their iTunes account. Isn't that awesome?
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. And we are also on Podomatic now. And, Dr. Aikyna is such a guru with technology. I'm so grateful to have her on this team. She is on everywhere. She's awesome. So, yeah, we are now on YouTube. We're on iTunes. We're on Podomatic, on Black Chat Radio. So please subscribe. You can also get on our site, changingmindsonline.com, and we will keep you posted on what our next topic is going to be and when our next show is going to be. Thank you, everyone. We're so grateful for everyone. Thank you, Annie, for calling in, and everyone who has heard this call all around the world. We love you. Thank you for your support. God bless, and have a great night.
Good night, everyone, and a great shout-out to My Sweets 128 for listening tonight. We appreciate you. All right, thank you so much, everyone.
Good night, guys. Thanks.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.